It started with a smile. Not the warm, spontaneous kind that says, "I'm glad you're here." No, this one was polished, precise, practiced, the kind of smile that feels manufactured, like it's hiding something. When Meghan Markle invited Jaime Kern Lima onto her podcast, it looked like a dream collaboration. A duchess and a billionaire beauty mogul, two powerful women swapping stories of struggle and survival. It was supposed to be inspiring, empowering, real, but it wasn't. Behind the scenes, what unfolded wasn't a conversation. It was a production, a carefully staged performance, where every emotion, every sigh, even every glance at the camera was pre-planned by Meghan's team, scripted down to the moment a single tear might fall. And for a while, it worked. Listeners believed it. They applauded Meghan's raw honesty and praised her emotional strength. But what no one saw was what happened the second the microphones turned off, because that's when the mask came off. And the Meghan that emerged, she wasn't the soft-spoken survivor. She wasn't the wounded truth-teller. She was sharp, direct, cold. And Jaime, she didn't forget it. In fact, what Meghan thought was just another day at the office ended up being the moment that would blow everything apart. Because months later, Jaime decided to talk. And once she did, the whole authenticity brand Meghan built started to unravel, fast. But that's only the beginning. Because what Jaime revealed next didn't just expose Meghan, it triggered a chain reaction in Hollywood that no one saw coming. On paper, it looked flawless. Meghan Markle, the reinvented duchess, turned podcast host, had lined up a guest that symbolized everything her brand claimed to be about: strength, vulnerability, resilience. Jaime Kern Lima, the self-made billionaire who sold her makeup empire and broke barriers in the beauty industry, was the perfect fit. A woman with grit, scars, and a story worth telling. But the moment Jaime arrived, something felt off. This wasn't a free-flowing conversation between two powerful women. Meghan's team didn't just suggest a few topics. They delivered a full script. Word-for-word emotional beats, perfectly timed pauses, even camera angles to make sure each facial expression landed just right. Jaime wasn't being interviewed. She was being directed. It didn't feel authentic. It felt choreographed. And Meghan, she played her part with precision. But when the camera stopped, the whole act cracked wide open. And what Jaime witnessed next left her completely speechless. But wait to see what came after that. The second the recording stopped, everything shifted. Gone was the soft, empathetic voice Meghan had used during the interview. The delicate pauses, the soulful tone, the vulnerability, all of it vanished like someone flipping a switch. In its place stood a completely different woman. Sharp, businesslike, almost icy. Jaime described it like watching someone remove a mask. 1 minute, Meghan was wiping away a tear. The next, she was giving instructions, reviewing footage, correcting angles. The transition was so fast, so jarring, it stuck with Jaime in a way she couldn't shake. For months, Jaime stayed quiet. She didn't want to stir up controversy. She respected Meghan, or at least the version she thought she knew. But that moment haunted her. The difference between who Meghan pretended to be and who she really was. And eventually, Jaime reached a breaking point, because when the podcast episode aired and the praise started flooding in, that's when Jaime realized she wasn't just part of the problem. She was helping sell the lie. And what she did next, you're not ready for it. She didn't go to a gossip blog. She didn't drop hints in a cryptic interview. She went straight to her own podcast, the same one Meghan had once appeared on, and told the truth, or rather, her truth. She said the entire episode had been fake. Every pause, every authentic sigh, every shaky moment of emotion, all scripted. It wasn't a raw conversation. It was a production, down to the tears, the vulnerability, and even the glances toward the camera. She didn't just imply it, she said it outright. Meghan Markle had performed pain, not shared it, sold it. The internet lost its mind. Because Jaime Kern Lima isn't some bitter ex-friend or anonymous source. She's a billionaire, beloved by fans and respected across industries. She had nothing to gain by exposing Meghan, and everything to lose. That's what made people listen and believe her. But that was just the first crack. Because once the story went public, Hollywood started to shift, and Meghan's empire began to tremble. What happened next? Even her closest allies didn't see it coming. Once Jaime's story exploded, the ripple effect was immediate. PR teams across Hollywood started whispering. Fashion houses, sponsors, even charity reps, all suddenly had one question on their minds. Can we still trust her? And the answer wasn't clear anymore. Behind the scenes, Meghan's team went into panic mode. They tried to spin it, privately downplaying Jaime's claims, suggesting maybe there was a misunderstanding. But in a city obsessed with optics, the damage was already spreading. One fashion rep admitted a major brand partnership was quietly paused. Another insider said Meghan's name was getting pulled from boardroom conversations. Deals were drying up, fast. And then came the biggest red flag. Word spread that Meghan hadn't been invited to a recent ultra-exclusive Montecito dinner hosted by Oprah's Inner Circle, a gathering she used to be front and center for. In Hollywood, an empty seat like that screams something's wrong, because when Oprah stops returning your calls, that's not just bad PR. That's a full-blown credibility crisis. But Meghan's problems were just getting started, because Jaime wasn't finished talking, and what she promised next would send the entire internet into a frenzy. Just when people thought the dust might settle, Jaime Kern Lima dropped a bomb. In a calm, steady voice on her next podcast episode, she said just 6 words. "This isn't about tearing someone down. I still have the tapes." That was it. No yelling, no drama, no threats. Just a quiet warning that sent the internet into a full-blown meltdown. TikTok lit up with reaction videos. Reddit threads exploded with speculation. Everyone wanted to know, what did Meghan say when she thought no one would ever hear it? According to insiders, the tapes include raw, unedited audio from the original recording, complete with direction from Meghan's team, off-camera conversations, and moments that never made it into the final version. If true, this wasn't just embarrassing, it was potentially reputation-ending. Behind the scenes, Meghan's team scrambled into crisis mode. There were rumors of legal threats, cease and desists, hush calls to partners, even attempts to block the podcast from distributing future episodes. But Jaime didn't blink. She doubled down, promising receipts, evidence, and a full behind-the-scenes breakdown of what really went down during the now infamous taping. And that's when Meghan's carefully curated empire started to fracture from the inside, because what came next didn't just threaten her image, it threatened her money. This wasn't just about public image anymore. This was about money. Big money. Meghan's entire brand, Archewell, production deals, sponsorships, was built on one thing: trust. People believed she was authentic. They believed the pain she shared was real. But now, that belief was cracking fast. Donors who once proudly supported Archewell began asking quiet questions. Was the impact real, or just another PR story dressed up as activism? One Hollywood producer put it bluntly: if your image is fake, your mission is fake. And no one wants to fund a performance. A major fashion house reportedly reevaluated their partnership. Netflix, already on shaky terms after the Spotify deal collapsed, started backing away from future pitches. It wasn't a full collapse yet, but the foundation was crumbling. And the scariest part? Meghan's team didn't seem to have a backup plan. Just spin, silence, and scrambling behind the scenes. Because when even your charity starts to feel like part of the illusion, it's not just a bruise to your brand, it's a wound that keeps bleeding. But here's the real twist. The more people looked into Meghan's past projects, the more they noticed something strange, a pattern, and once they saw it, they couldn't unsee it. At first, people thought it was just one misstep, one podcast, one uncomfortable truth. But once Jaime spoke up, the internet started connecting dots, and the picture that formed was hard to ignore. The Oprah interview, emotional, but now, suspicious. That voice crack, timed perfectly. That tearful pause, just long enough to make headlines. The Spotify deal, announced with fanfare, gone after one season. Creative differences, they said. But behind the scenes, insiders whispered about control issues, lack of substance, and a show that felt more like a pitch deck than a podcast. Then there was the Invictus documentary, beautiful on the surface, but critics said it lacked depth. And Meghan's wedding speech, it didn't sound like a bride. It sounded like a TED Talk. Now with Jaime's claims, none of it felt like coincidence. It felt like a strategy. Each new project had a new version of Meghan. A new voice, a new look, a new script. Truth teller, mental health warrior, feminist icon, spiritual healer. It was all curated, too curated, and producers started speaking out too. Quietly, but clearly. One Netflix editor said Meghan was obsessed with having Final Cut approval, not to look her best, but to control every frame. Another compared working with her to editing a documentary, where the subject thought they were the director. This wasn't just image control, this was performance control. But the worst part? It wasn't the lies. It was how many people felt used. And the one person whose silence was starting to speak volumes was Oprah. And that's where things got even darker. You could feel it, the shift. This wasn't just backlash. It wasn't cancel culture or tabloid gossip. It was something colder, deeper, final. People who once defended Meghan Markle were quietly backing away. Not with rage, but with disappointment. They didn't feel angry. They felt played. One tweet that went viral said it best. "I defended Meghan for years. I believed her. But now, I feel like a fool." And the silence from one person made it all worse. Oprah, the woman who handed Meghan the biggest platform of her life, a global stage to speak her truth, said nothing. No support, no clarification, no denial, just silence. Inside Hollywood, that said everything. There were rumors Oprah's team felt blindsided, used, that they now believed even the monarchy-shattering interview might have been rehearsed. Because if Oprah was manipulated, then who wasn't? And that's what changed the tone. This wasn't just a celebrity under fire. This was a cultural reckoning. Jaime Kern Lima wasn't some bitter rival trying to destroy Meghan. She wasn't loud. She wasn't cruel. She sounded tired, disillusioned, like someone who finally admitted to herself and the world that she'd been part of a lie. Her confession hit harder than any tabloid headline ever could.